Everyone, thanks for joining us for today's AVST live webinar. We're going to be talking about migrating from RightFax to XMediusFAX. I want to draw your attention real quickly to just some upcoming webinars we have. In the email follow-up that we'll send you after we conclude the webinar, we'll go ahead and give you a link to our schedule of webinars in case you're interested in joining one in the next few weeks. And also want to let you know we are giving away some Plantronics headphones. So two of our lucky attendees here may get an email from me later this morning, later today with the info if you happen to be one of our winners. And for today's presentation, we have Carol Waldron presenting from XMedius. And before we walk through the presentation with Carol, I do want to also let you know that you can download these slides from the handouts area on the webinar panel, and in addition we will send them to you in the follow-up email as well, along with a link to the recording. And you're also welcome to type your questions in at any time. We will have those queued up for the Q&A period at the end, and we'll certainly let you know when it's time for that. So with that, I'll go ahead and let Carol get us going with the presentation.
Thanks, Anne. I really appreciate it. And thanks to everybody for joining this morning. My name is Carol Waldron. I'm the Director of Strategic Channels for a company called XMedius Solutions, Inc. We are thrilled to have just recently announced a partnership and alignment with AVST. Today, as a result, we're here to talk about several things. We put together today's webinar keeping AVST's customer base in mind. And looking at the attendee list, it appears as though we have a lot of existing fax customers on the line, specifically customers who, for years perhaps, have been running a RightFax server and, as such, are interested in maybe migrating to a new solution. I do see some repeat attendees on the line, folks who've maybe joined us for a webinar over the course of the previous 2 weeks, but I see a lot of new folks on the line also. So I don't want to leave anyone in the dust. Therefore, I'd like to start at the 101 level with regards to who we are, what XMediusFAX is, and where we fit into the market. From there, I'll be taking a deeper dive into the XMedius product and specifically how we are different than maybe the RightFax solution that you're currently running today. I also, of course, want to hit on what's new and what's forthcoming with regards to our product, and then we'll take a deep dive into the migration tools we've made available for customers such as yourselves and the current promotions and offers. At the end, too, we will be hosting a Q&A session. Our senior pre-sales engineer, Richard Bott, is on the line with me, and he's prepared to answer any technical questions you have. So feel free to chat away with us in the lower right-hand panel, I believe it is, if anything, any questions come up throughout the course of today's webinar. So very quickly, a little about who we are, where we fit into the market, and, just as importantly, where we do not fit into the market. Our company name today is XMedius Solutions, Inc. Our flagship product is called XMediusFAX. We were previously owned by a large European conglomerate called Sagemcom or Sagemcom. Some of you might remember that name. Well, last year we broke away from the conglomerate completely, and we are now majority owned by a US-based equity firm called Stone Caliber. When we were acquired, we just rebranded ourselves as XMedius Solutions. So we're still under the same management we have been for many, many, many moons, and we have the same products. But now we have some autonomy and the ability to react more quickly to market trends, which you'll see throughout today's presentation. So we're the group in Stone's portfolio responsible for all fax-related technologies. We have an on-premise fax server that we'll be discussing today. We do have a cloud fax offering too, just so that you're aware. You can call AVST for more information about that if you're interested. So truth be known, we've been in the fax market for more than 20 years with a variety of products under a variety of different brand names. But it was in the 2003-ish timeframe that we started recognizing a couple of significant trends in the market and decided at that time to readjust our product strategy accordingly. So that was right around the time that voice over IP adoption rates were skyrocketing. And that's also when virtualization, specifically VM, became prevalent in the market. And at that time, all of our fax solutions were like everyone else's, right? We required physical fax cards or modems or ATAs. And given where the market was going, we decided those hardware dependencies were absolutely cumbersome. Our offerings, frankly, just weren't elegant. So we went back to the drawing board, we totally rewrote our code from scratch, and in doing so, we wrote and bundled into our product our own T38 protocol stack. And herein lies a major differentiator, not just between us and RightFax, but also between us and all the other fax server products on the market. So, for those of you not familiar with the term T38, it's essentially the most reliable protocol used to run faxes over a voice-over IP network. Think of it as an insulation layer that wraps itself around a fax packet and protects it from loss. What's unique about our product, again, is that we wrote our own T38 stack and included it in our software, meaning we don't have any third-party dependencies in order to fax enable your infrastructure. So I suspect a lot of you out there maybe are still using Brook Trout fax cards in tandem with your RightFax server, or maybe you have ATAs hanging off gateways, or maybe you're using Brook Trout's Dialogix SR140 software, which frankly is essentially a T38 stack. We don't need any of that. We can completely do away with it, and therefore we are a single source, software-only fax solution. We got completely away from those dependencies, and we will continue to do so. We have a very one-throat-to-choke philosophy here. You know, we want to handle the R&D and tech support end-to-end, whether we're talking about the fax application itself or the mechanisms used to connect to your telephony. As a customer, the last thing you want to hear is that we need to put you on hold to call a third-party vendor or Dialogic. That's when the finger pointing ensues, right? Or you install a Windows update, and lo and behold, your fax cards are no longer supported. We have control end-to-end of our product, and as such, our customer satisfaction rates are very, very high, in the 99% range. So let's take a look at what a typical XMediusFAX deployment looks like. At first glance, this looks a little complex, but truthfully, it's very, very simplistic. On the far left, the arrow coming into those phone switches are representative of your phone lines, the existing PRIs, the SIP trunks, whatever phone lines you have coming into your phone system. The first box on the left is representative of your PBX, the phone switch. And here I've thrown out a few manufacturers' names. We've got Avaya, Mitel, ShoreTel, so on and so forth. At the end of the day, we can integrate with, frankly, any phone switch out there. The slide just had limited space. So inbound fax numbers come in over your existing lines, they hit your phone switch, and as I suspect is the case with the vast majority of you, the phone switch will hand off the call to CX-E. CX-E in this instance, provided by AVST, will handle the call control and routing of the faxes. Ultimately, it's very simple. CX-E will transfer the call to the XMediusFAX server. Now, it's important in our universe to recognize that a fax number equals a user account in our software, okay? So fax number 5551212 might denote John Doe, absolutely, but it can also be a lot of other things. So, for instance, we can route to groups of users. We can route directly to applications. We can route to physical devices like printers. You know, looking over at the far right, we have the ability, and this is very common, to route inbound faxes as fax messages or email messages through to your email system. Very, very common deployment. Likewise, too, we have a browser-based interface through which users can manage their faxes, view their real-time queues, their histories, things of that nature. Quite common as well, as counterintuitive as it sounds, a lot of our customers want to route inbound faxes to specified network printers or multi-function printers. Again, a lot of folks want to, and we can absolutely do that via IP. So when we start talking about more automated workflow processes, here too, we can automatically route faxes to folders, to network directories, automatically into back-end applications and ERP systems. At the end of the day, we can really route faxes to anywhere to which we have network access. And, of course, the same applies in the reverse. XMediusFAX, like a lot of fax products, emulates a printer. So the general rule of thumb is any application from which you can print, you can also fax. And again, looking on the far right, you'll notice the bidirectional arrows. We can send and receive faxes both from email, from browser-based interfaces, from printers, so on and so forth. So, taking a deeper look at that XMediusFAX box specifically, there are 3 versions of XMediusFAX currently offered today. Those versions are called Express, Enterprise, and SP. I suspect, again, looking at the attendee list, that Enterprise will be fairly irrelevant to most of you on the call, but I do need to mention that it exists. It's our small business edition, and unlike our other versions, it comes with user limitations and channel limitations, and therefore is priced accordingly. So this version is limited to 100 users and 4 concurrent channels. And again, knowing most of you have experience either with RightFax or other fax servers, the term channel should be fairly straightforward to you. Channels are simply license keys in our software that allow for concurrent fax transmissions. So, for instance, if you deploy a 4-channel instance of XMediusFAX, that simply means at any given time, you can have 4 concurrent faxes going out or coming in from anywhere. Again, this Express edition is limited to a max of 100 users, 4 channels, and it only includes a single site. Now, a site in our universe does not denote a physical location, although the name would imply otherwise. Think of a site as a logical grouping of users to whom you can assign common permissions and restrictions, much like what you would call a work group within RightFax. Again, here too, the Express version is fairly limited. It only supports a single site. It's a very, very good option for super small businesses or perhaps departmental needs, but I suspect the vast majority of you, again, on today's call would be better suited for either our Enterprise or XMediusFAX SP editions. The Enterprise edition comes with unlimited users. It will support a maximum of 300 concurrent channels. Likewise, going back to my comment about the concept of sites, Enterprise will support a maximum of 20 sites or work groups. If you need greater channel capacity, if you need a greater number of sites, or most importantly, if you need any kind of HA or DR capabilities, you will want to take a look at the next version up, called XMediusFAX SP. This is the version that essentially comes with unlimited users, unlimited channel capacity. It has very, very high-end administrative features, and again, this is the version designed for HA and DR. And here, too, I want to point to a major competitive differentiator for those of you who are using some sort of HA or DR within your RightFax infrastructure. So what you're viewing here today is a very crude drawing of what a RightFax collective looks like. A collective is RightFax's version of high availability. The 2 blue boxes are representative of the 2 RightFax servers, fax server number 1 and fax server number 2. You'll notice, though, that between the 2, I've inserted a dotted line intentionally. That's because, in reality, RightFax servers cannot talk to each other. The databases cannot replicate in real time. And again, RightFax's version of HA requires all these peripheral servers in order to support what they consider to be HA. The bubble at the top is representative of a SAN or a NAS, and it's onto that server in RightFax where you need to offload fax images. Below, you'll see SQL servers, and that's where the fax metadata, the fax histories get stored in a RightFax collective. Likewise, for the larger RightFax customers, oftentimes they recommend offloading their either board drivers or those SR140 drivers onto, yet again, peripheral servers. So you can see at a glance, especially for larger deployments, this is a very crude example, how quickly this becomes cumbersome to maintain. You've got minimally 3 external servers to support. Databases don't replicate in real time. In our opinion, really, this is not true active-active. Conversely, when you look at XMediusFAX, you'll see something very different. If you choose to deploy 2 instances of XMedius SP edition, you'll notice between the 2, there is now a solid line. Our databases have the ability to replicate in real time. Everything is shared back and forth. We don't require any kind of SQL servers or SAN or NAS. This strategy, this product offering, is services-based. The channels can float back and forth. You can load balance between the two servers. It's truly our 4-9 uptime solution. In the event of any kind of failure on either of these servers, the fully functioning server will pick up the workload until services are fully restored on the non-functioning server. And again, the nice thing about this as compared to where you may be today is that it's simply a 2-server or 2 virtual machine solution, period. So I wanted to take a quick foray into a couple of new features or new offerings that we have that I thought would be relevant to an AVST audience. First and foremost, our new mobile apps. I probably don't need to tell folks on the line that increasingly the workforce is becoming mobile, and therefore applications need to be designed with that in mind. It was within the last year that we released our mobile app for Apple devices, and then within the last 6 weeks, we also added Android support. So we actually have a fax application that you can download for free from the Apple Store or the Google Store. And I'll show you some screen captures here in a minute of what that looks like. First and foremost, to the left, using the application, you can personalize your fax cover sheet. You can select fax recipients in the next screen capture from existing phone books, regardless of what phone books we're talking about. You can select files, documents from any popular file management application, and then you can choose your fax permissions, restrictions, priorities, and things of that nature on the far right. It's really slick, and particularly in some vertical markets represented here, healthcare and finance in particular, we're finding that folks need to be mobile, and this is just one method for you to do that with regards to fax. I also, of course, could not get through today's session without mentioning how excited we are to be offering a CX-E connector, a CX-E integration, so that XMediusFAX ties right into the AVST product offering. Much like you're accustomed to with RightFax, CX-E can transfer fax calls to XMediusFAX. And here I've put in a note that it's PBX dependent. But again, remember, call your AVST representatives. We are hard-pressed to find a PBX that we don't currently support. So again, we can deliver faxes directly to the CX-E mailboxes for unified messaging purposes. We can option of forwarding to fax machines and offer phone-based access to your faxes. So here too, the CX-E mobile client and web phone manager allow for fax access. Now, this is a little different than the fax-only mobile application that I just showed you. The good news being you have options with our software. You can choose to route into CX-E or into other fax-specific applications. So everything we've been talking about up to this point is premise-based, meaning if you choose to deploy our software in-house, this applies. I wanted to throw out a note that this fall, certainly before the holidays, the cloud offering will be available to AVST customers as well. As most of you know on the call, recently AVST released their CX-E offering in the cloud. We will be offering the same with regards to fax in the not-too-distant future. So keep your eyes peeled for that if you're interested in the cloud-based solution versus fax. So, truth be known, we embarked at the beginning of this year with some very clear internal and product strategies in mind. Within the fax industry, there has certainly been a lot of disruption, and to this audience, I don't think I need to elaborate much. Specifically, what I'm referring to is a lot of disruption within the RightFax customer base. Support has waned, the product's a little buggy, some partners, some customers have been affected by things that OpenText has strategically chosen to do. So as a result, we stopped and we wanted to take a look at our product direction and see if perhaps there was an opportunity for us to help some of the RightFax customers like yourselves. We conducted a host of focus groups around the country in tandem with large enterprise RightFax customers, and I mean the big ones, probably the top 20, 25 RightFax users nationally. Excuse me. We presented our product offering. We explained our architecture, the administrative functionalities. To them, of course, we explained our HA strategy. And resoundingly, people were thrilled. Literally, in some cases, people got up in a room and applauded us. what was so interesting is that they said, this is exactly what we've been trying to get RightFax to do for years. But over the course of the next few weeks, something odd happened. Those customers went a little silent on us. They went dark. They didn't necessarily call us and say, hey, move me over from RightFax to XMediusFAX today. We thought that was peculiar. So we went back to the same group. And there was one gentleman in particular who pulled me aside and said, Carol, we love the end result. We love what your product is, but you have totally failed to address the migration path. We've been using RightFax for 15 years. How on earth am I supposed to cut bait and go to a new solution overnight? And that's when the light bulb went off for me and said, aha, we need to get product management involved in our core offering, but create some offerings that are specific to a RightFax customer, for example, to help them migrate from point A to point B. So, as such, just within the last quarter or so, we've released 2 migration tools to help you migrate from point A to point B. The first of which is our RightFax database migration tool. As the name implies, it gives you the ability to migrate your fax images and the metadata associated with faxes from your RightFax server directly over to the XMedius platform. Before we had this migration tool available, I'll be the first to admit, I would tell some customers, oh, just keep RightFax in non-production mode over here in the corner and use XMediusFAX moving forward. And if you need to retrieve something, just go back to the RightFax server to find it. Well, that was completely unrealistic on my part. I will be the first to admit, I don't think I realized to what degree you RightFax customers use the fax server as a document management repository and therefore need to access your faxes with frequency. So again, we created this tool so that you can migrate everything from one to the other. The only caveats with that are that you must be running RightFax 10.x or higher, and you cannot have deployed the RightFax encryption module. If you deployed that, those images are encrypted. Congratulations, you got exactly what you paid for. We cannot decrypt them. So moving on, there is a second product offering that we developed in response to requests from folks like yourselves. We call it the RightFax Integration Converter, and this applies to the RightFax customers who had spent countless hours fax enabling their back-end applications. So a lot of you on the call might be familiar with a RightFax module called their integration module. That's the module that contains their proprietary set of FCL commands. Facsimile command language. We essentially designed a mapping tool so that whether you're using these FCLs, maybe you're using RightFax embedded codes, XML commands, it doesn't matter. It's a mapping tool so that we can essentially recognize RightFax commands, apply our own like commands, and perform the exact same function. The benefit of it being you don't need to modify or alter the output coming off those back-end systems. All you need to do is redirect it to a queue that we will pull with X frequency. We will recognize the command and perform the same function. So the benefit here too is that there are no modifications on your back-end systems. You can continue essentially using the RightFax commands, and we'll take it from there. So we are also excited to announce a promotion, a financial incentive to move from point A to point B. AVST released their Fax and Furious promotion within the past month. Ultimately, what it means is that as an AVST RightFax customer, you are entitled to software discounts to swap your RightFax server over to an XMediusFAX system. You must show some sort of proof of the RightFax installation, and we will swap it out like for like. We offer support plans in terms of 1, 2, 3, or 5 years, and as the number of years of support to which you commit increases, the software discounts will also increase. So if you're interested in perhaps swapping one for the other, please reach out to your AVST representatives to get more information about that. Likewise, the partners through whom you purchased perhaps RightFax, they have information about this program, and they can, of course, assist you as well. A couple of other side notes and additional offers to help with this migration. First and foremost, we are offering support extensions to AVST's customers, meaning if today you're running RightFax and maybe you have 10 or 11 months left on your RightFax support contract, but you want to move today, we will honor the number of remaining months in your RightFax support contract and add those to whatever support contract you choose to purchase from us. So if you buy XMediusFAX, you buy 1 year worth of support for 12 months, you've got 11 months remaining on RightFax, we will honor essentially 23 months for your support of the XMediusFAX system. Likewise, too, only for AVST's customers and its partners' customers, we are offering the CX-E connector free to you, meaning there are no additional modular costs in order to purchase or receive the product that will enable the two to talk together and to interoperate. Likewise, because our support costs are calculated as a percentage of the software you own, there will be no negative ramifications with regards to the support cost required by you for receiving this module in exchange for free. So here too, you'll certainly want to talk to your AVST representatives and your partner representatives for more information about that. So to summarize, XMediusFAX is absolutely the proven leader in fax. The current estimates are that our biggest competitors, frankly, are losing market share on average 15 to 20% year over year, and our sales are on the increase 14% year over year. We fully expect, and it's an internal objective, to take over the #1 market position within the next 12 to 18 months. Because we feel we are best of breed, are very selective, and we therefore only align ourselves with best of breed providers, such as AVST. We are thrilled about this partnership. The two companies, XMediusFAX and AVST, look very much alike. We share a common culture. We do what's in our partner's best interest, and we do what's in our customer community best interest. We're very logical people, like I said. We share the same ethics, and therefore it's a very, very natural fit for us moving forward. So we are absolutely looking forward to working with you. If you have any questions, I certainly invite you to ask those via a chat window at this time. As I mentioned, our Director of Pre-Sales Engineering, Richard Bott, is on the line to assist with anything I may or may not be able to answer. And so at this time, I'd like to open it up to the chat and bring Ann back into the conversation to see if anyone has anything they'd like to offer.
Yeah, thanks so much, Carol. So there are a couple of questions. Just as a reminder, you may have the panel minimized, so use the orange arrow in the upper corner of your screen, and then once that expands out, you should see the question box at the bottom. First question, Carol, does the mobile app allow you to fax a photo?
Yes, absolutely. Well, how about this? Assuming that the photo is a file, which we can essentially print. And Rich, maybe I should toss this over to you. I don't know if we're talking something more like a Snapchat application. Rich, do you have any comment or thoughts on that?
Well, anytime that you have files on mobile devices, it's just an interface that needs to be grabbed. So if you have it sitting in, let's say, for example, Dropbox, then of course you can go ahead and attach that to the fax and send it out. We interface with like iOS interfaces using things like Dropbox and other applications that allow you file access. We don't have direct file access to the iOS system, so we rely on those interfaces. So yes, if you have those documents and the image sitting in a Dropbox or OneDrive from Microsoft or any of those particular applications, then you can access those files, attach it to the outbound fax, and it'll get converted at the server level.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. Okay, next question. This is actually regarding CX-E. So is there any upgrade required for CX-E to move from RightFax to XMediusFAX? And I can answer that. So we released this with our latest version of CX-E, which is 8.7, and you would need to be on Software Update 2, which was also released in September. So for our existing customers, that should be a free update with your Express Care contract. So certainly you can work with your AVST representative on that if you're not already running the current version. Okay, another question. Can you route faxes to multiple destinations, such as the CX-E, an email account, and an MFP?
Absolutely. I'm glad you asked that, because here too, this is a differentiator between us and some of the more legacy products like a RightFax. In a lot of those products, you need to create forwarding rules. So for John Doe, you can route to an email account, and then you forward. In XMediusFAX, you can route to any combination of destinations simultaneously without creating forwarding rules. So that should ease a little bit of pain if, in fact, you want to send, for instance, to an email account, a back-end application, and a printer simultaneously.
Okay, thanks, Carol. All right, next question. We support and resell several fax servers and have standardized on EtherFax for healthcare customers. Let's see, is there any integration between those two, EtherFax and XMedius?
The timing of this is really quite something. Truth be known, I had dinner with the president of EtherFax within the past 2 weeks. Today, no, we do not offer an EtherFax integration. However, our companies have engaged in active conversations, and I expect within the next quarter to be able to announce some sort of relationship that I'm not privy to discuss at this exact moment.
Okay, and we can certainly share the contact info for the person who has asked that, so there could be some follow-up.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Okay, I'm just going to do a quick scroll through here. It looks like that actually wraps up the questions, unless there's someone still typing. If something pops in, I'll jump in again here. As I mentioned, we do go through these questions and follow up with the question, the person who asked the question, just to ensure that we answered it appropriately. And so we will follow up with all of you who attended and those of you who asked a question. And so just want to take the chance to thank you all for attending, for joining us for this session. As I mentioned, look for a follow-up email from us, which will include a slide download as well as the recording, as well as a link to where you might be able to register for some of our upcoming webinars. And want to thank Carol and Rich also for joining us and for the presentation, as well as the Q&A, which was quite informative. And so I think that we'll just go ahead and wrap up then, and have a great day, everyone. And again, we look forward to seeing you on another AVST Live webinar, hopefully very soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone, for attending. Have a good day.
To learn more about AVST, please visit www.avst.com.